a chance to do their homework?
Of course.
Of course.
Right.
Now I know what it looks like from this perspective. Yes, of course we did our homework. Okay, we're going to go over all of it, so if you have any questions on anything in particular, just speak up. It's all pretty straightforward, but
Yeah.
we'll go over anything if there's any confusion. So, let's see. So today, I'll go over the rules and regulations with you. Captain Dennis Cole is here to talk to us about security, safety, and verbal judo. He'll be up next. And then Simon's going to talk to us about some interpretation techniques. And then I'm going to do some fauna with you. Some, what I would guess are commonly, I think you're going to get more botanical questions, but I tried to pick like 10 or 12 of the most common animal questions you might get. So I'll go over that at the end. And then we'll be done for the day. So let's start with rules and regulations. So I'm just going to go down these. How many were there? Like 26 sections or something?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
I saw 12.
Very boring.
How many pages?
Very good.
Very boring.
It's good sleeping material. So well, before we start, so and I think Dennis will talk about this a little bit too. Your role for enforcement is just education. It's just to make them aware that what the behavior that they're doing is not allowed in the park, and this is why. And it really just ends there, because your safety is the most important thing. If they say, I don't care, I'm gonna do it, what are you gonna do about it? And you say, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna have to report this to the ranger or something like that, and then just walk away. And I think hopefully Dennis will.
Some of those exact words are in my slide.
Oh, perfect, good. Actually, know what I'm talking about. So just keep that in mind as we go through these rules and regulations.
So Jeff, why were there two, I mean, there were like two PDFs that looked very similar, but
The first one, I think it was, I just wanted to give you that as background. I think that is what gave us the powers of enforcement. That document was way back from 1990 when the park was created, and that actually gave us our powers to enforce rules and regulations in the park. Like, we could actually cite people if the district wanted us to and gave us the proper training and background. They don't want us to do, but we do have those powers.
okay. But it was almost the same information about documents, right?
Oh, did it go through all the, so it was, I guess, on the older document, I think I just wanted you to look at the top part. the
Oh,
different
okay.
part. So I didn't realize it went through all the ordinances.
Yeah, the second one was easier to read.
Okay, the second one was, we've updated the ordinances several times, so that was the latest one. Sorry, I should have cut that off, I didn't realize. it went-
Oh, okay, I was confused why there were two.
Okay, sorry about that, that's my fault. So first, no collecting at all. So that's rocks, plants, fish, animals, anything in the park people can take away. And we can thank Simon for the comedy here with the pictures. Hopefully you won't fall asleep. He did a good job. Care of wildlife, it's our job to make sure that there aren't any hazards. People aren't setting up traps or anything that could harm the wildlife in the park. It's our job to protect that. No, this falls under collecting. You can't collect firewood. No motorized vehicles at all on the trails. Emergency personnel and park rangers are the only exception to that. We are multi-use, so bicycles are allowed. Technically, I think in that ordinance it says maximum speed 15 miles an hour. It's impossible to enforce that. So we changed our signs to just say safe speed. I think in the ordinance it actually says within 100 feet of people you need to slow to 5 miles an hour. That's not realistic, so we just try to make it simple. I think it helps you on your end to say, you ask the question, when you flew by that guy at 20 miles an hour, was that safe? That person, you know, walking their dog on a leash, would you consider that to be safe? And they would say no. So, because you get into numbers, miles per hour, but well, I was only doing 12, you know. So, no glass containers, that's pretty straightforward. You get broken bottles all over the place. Equestrians, so the big deal with equestrians is the right-of-way. I think everybody here knows that triangular symbol of everybody yields to the horse. You must dismount your bikes in the presence of a horse. Obviously, you gotta take care of the watershed. Don't see someone dumping their motor oil in the creek, obviously. I can really thank Simon for this. No littering. No dumping. We do allow dogs, but we have, this would be an example of the ordinance that we changed from that original. It used to be just dogs can go hog wild in the park, but we've had to change that. And this sign at the top of the Way Up Trail really lays out what the rules are. Did everybody, this is a good one to really know forwards and backwards. So it's weekdays, dogs are allowed to be off leash on the way throughout the park. Weekends, they must be always on leash on the Way Up Trail, 7 days a week. On the weekdays, when you get past this sign here at the top, then they can go off leash in the park. Just there's too much congestion and traffic on the Way Up Trail. There are getting too many conflicts between user groups and dogs.
Have we been getting conflict? I mean, have we been getting reports of?
We had one just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Someone came down the trail and complained. I think Dennis was the docent and had to call Jonathan, and he actually found the people, and they apologized because he had all the details. He knew their dog, he knew what happened. I guess there was a conflict between just hikers and dogs off leash, and the dog owners were pretty rude to the people.
Mm.
So, yeah, that one. This is probably the most common issue you're going to run into.
Do you find there are locals?
I'm sorry?
There are more local people who live in
No,
the area?
no, it could be anybody.
Okay.
Everyone know what geocaching is? Anyone not know? So we do have a procedure if someone wants to place a geocache in the trails, and all of that is on our website. So if you see somebody, anyone can come geocache. There's no regulation against that. But if someone is actually placing a cache, there's paperwork they need to fill out, and there are guidelines of how they place it in the park that they need to work through us
Where are those guidelines? Where's
on the website.
just on the website? There's nothing in the IC. If somebody came in and said, we'd like to place a,
You wouldn't be able to just show up and do it. It's paperwork, they need to turn it in, we need to approve it,
Okay.
and it would go back. But you could just point them to the website and say, this is the process, this is your first step.
Do many people do that?
I think we have about 12 or 15 caches in the park.
Oh.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I as the land manager, I am connected to every cache. There's one main website that everyone uses for this, and whenever someone places a cache or discovers a cache, they can post that, hey, I found it, and they put their picture. So I get those emails almost daily, just so I know what activity is going on in the park. Obviously, no camping or campfires. Jonathan got a call, I think it was yesterday, asking for reservations for the Elfin Forest campground. And the old trailer park down the road was the Elfin Forest trailer park, and they had camping there. So that's probably what they were referring to. No loud noises. We get this one from time to time. Someone will bring out their boom box, or just have their car doors open and just say, hey, come on guys, this is a park.
Yeah, we've run into people on the trail with no radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have their headphones in, but they're blasting it at the same time.
I don't understand that myself, but some people do. No advertising. We get this from time to time. If you ever see a flyer or something someone has taped up to the map board or stapled to a post, just pull it off. Obviously, no hunting. Quick hunting story. I was driving up the road you guys just drove up, and two guys were crossing the street in full camouflage with their bows. And I stopped, and and they were walking into the park. They were walking across the road, left into the park. What are you guys doing? You know there's no hunting here. And they looked at me and oh, we're just doing target practice in your full camouflage.
Right.
They turned around. That's the only time I know of actually catching people trying to hunt, but you guys know how many deer are here, and it'd be very tempting. So I doubt you run into that, but that was one example I have. This happens from time to time. We've had to call the sheriff when people are shooting guns in the park, adjacent to the park, actually, but no smoking.
I like your
This one's
humor.
tough. This one is the education standpoint. You just have to, I'm sorry, but there's no smoking in the park whatsoever.
Do we have signs up that? I don't know if I've ever seen one.
There are, yeah.
That includes the staging area too?
Yes.
Yeah, that one surprised me.
I talk to people all the time in the staging area, and I just say, I'm sorry, sir, ma'am, there's no smoking. in the park."
Where's the sign on the billboard?
Right there, well, on the rules and regulations of the map, it says it there. And then I think there are a couple, just, no
Small.
smoking.
Okay.
Well, those chiefs are.
It always puzzles
Pretty
me
good.
when I see cigarette butts halfway up the way up trail.
Yeah.
It's you're
I
going
know.
for a hike, and you're having a smoke. So,
Yeah, we've seen several of them.
Yeah.
closing time, our operation permit for the park dictates that we have to close at sunset. And we open at 8. And that is because the whole park is mitigation for the dam and reservoir behind us. The animals and the wildlife, they need their time too. So that's when someone says, well, why can't I come in? You know, county parks or many other parks, they don't care if you come early and just walk through the gate. Unfortunately, if we were audited and they discovered, the BLM came out and discovered that we were not addressing people coming in early or staying late, we could get fined or we could actually have the park closed down.
So Jeff, how do you handle the cars that park on the road? Did you know that folks were coming in?
So our action to address this is it's education. We have little half sheets of paper that every morning if there's cars parked out front, we put them on their windshield, and it explains this is part of our operating permit. Unfortunately, it's considered trespassing if you're in before or after hours. These are the park hours, and we appreciate it if you obey this in the future. It's really nice. It's just a courtesy notice, and it's pretty effective. You know, we get some repeat people, but I think when they understand why, they get the idea. Obviously, no fireworks, but another story. You guys remember Ryan, Ranger Ryan? He was in the staging area one day. It was summertime. It was August. And a car was driving down Harmony Grove Road towards Escondido, Roman candle going out, and one of them started a fire. And he got out, took his water pack, and put it out.
What have we?
Not that a rule would deter this person from doing that, but it actually does happen. Special event policy. This is new. This was something new in the latest ordinance upgrade. It's really laid out well in that document. Let's see if I can hit them all. If anyone wants to rent the interpretive center, if they're bringing a for-profit event to the park, like a dog walker or a fitness group, something like that. Someone wants to have a wedding on the trail or at the bridge, some kind of organized event, anything like that, or even just to have a party. So that there is a permit process, and there are fees involved, and they have to show a certain level of insurance, stuff like that. So you'll have my business card in your gear. So if you run into someone who's doing that, just if you can't have them call me right then and there, or if they're inquiring about doing it, have them contact me. And all that information's on the website too. You can refer them to the website. Obviously, no illegal drugs. You can talk to all the park rangers, we've run into this. And they would just say, get out of here, and they see this, and they're like, oh, I'm getting away with it, and they leave. Get out of here and don't come back. So. Care of property, we're responsible for upkeeping everything, so if you see vandalism or vandals, report them to us, we'll get it cleaned up. We feel that we do a pretty good job of cleaning up stuff like graffiti right away. That's very important to deter it from happening in the future. This is a biggie, no off-trail travel. A large part of your trail patrols, you'll be documenting these illegal side trails that we try to keep on top of. But if you actually catch people off trail, again, your fallback, your education to them is, this is all mitigation, this is all protected habitat. The environment that we're in here is very easily damaged and it's slow to grow back, especially now with everything so brown and dry. Just going through and snapping branches, it's gonna take forever for that thing to come back. It's gonna have a hard enough time coming back from the drought as it is. Down by the creek, I always like to scare people with poison oak because they're probably in it or close to it. If they have a pet or something like that, it's always good to talk about there are predators here. So if you're off trail, there's rattlesnakes, there's bobcats, there's even mountain lions. So do little things to just kind of scare them a little, make it personal. We get this from time to time. Sean was just telling me, we were talking about this, Sean said that a ROTC group came out, which they're more than welcome to come out, and they were drilling the guys in the staging area, and they had them all laid out in a grid pattern, and they had them doing push-ups, and there were cars coming in trying to park, and these guys weren't moving. They were drilling them, and Sean had to come out and go, really, come on, guys. So, if I doubt we'll run into this, but this one in particular requires approval of the general manager, so that even I can't approve. But usually it's them just coming out to drill and run and hike and stuff like that. And we always say yes.
Back to that off-trail stuff, if they're on the rocks around the bridge, is that off-trail?
If they're on the south side of the creek and starting to kind of start going back, I give them a buffer. Yeah, they're drawn to it, and as long as they're just kind of hanging out. But if they start rock hopping and, oh, let's see how far down the creek we can go, we gotta go, hey, well, you need to stay on the trail.
And of course, the swimmers that are in the creek, that is that little
There's,
beach,
yeah.
and then they go in.
There's no rule that prohibits swimming, but we just let them know that it's not advised. And then you just tell them, do you know where this water comes from? It's urban runoff, 100%.
Can I ask one quick question, and going back to like the one way up trail and so forth? Runners, people who are training and they're running. Between the hiker and the runner, who has the right of way? Because usually uphill has the right of way, but
Right.
sometimes they say the person who's out of control has the right of way. I don't know.
Oh, like high speed downhill?
Yeah, people who are running to, make a time, or, I mean, they're actually runners.
I would say, that's a good question, but I would say the person who's carrying the speed, they need to yield, I would say.
They should.
That's what I would say, but that's a good
That's
question.
what I would say, but.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would just get out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Well, that's what happens.
Common sense might tell you, some big guy running down full speed.
Yeah, because they're sometimes zigzagging over the rock,
Right.
The rough trail, and
Yeah.
then you going to one way and then they bump, you're trying to.
And that, like when I'm out hiking on my own, if I run into that, I kind of exaggerate my getting out of the way
Uh-huh.
and make eye contact with them and try to get across that, hey, you're making me do this because of what you're doing. I don't know if it works, but that's
Don't uphill hikers typically have right of way? I mean, that's the etiquette.
that is the etiquette, yeah.
Right.
It's the uphill person, the uphill hiker has the right.
But that guy's coming down out of control. I don't think he's.
Yeah,
gonna
well,
stop.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we ran into that problem.
Not here always, but other places.
And all of the rules that we covered, if our board of directors and or general manager can give an exemption to any of those rules. I don't know why they would, but they have the power to do so.
And how would we know? In other words, there's a group doing something that,
So let's say a guy goes, well, I really want to camp here. And I'm sorry, it's against the rules. Well, is there anything I can do? Well, you could write to the board and ask for special permission. You're going to get denied. But if they're just adamant about, fighting this, say, well, just, you can go to the board.
no, what I meant is, let's say someone does get an exemption for something, and we see them doing something that is normally.
It's never happened.
Oh, okay. They would make, would they let us know?
Here, you can go
Okay.
fishing or you can go hunting. No, it has never happened.
Okay.
Well, it
You
would
can
be
go
a-
off trail.
a really weird thing. Occasionally, like, we'll have a biologist come in,
Okay.
and they have permission to go off trail. So something like that, they would have identification, and they would be able to tell you, that would probably be the one instance that you may run into, something like that.
And if you do run into them, what would you do? You'd say, oh, okay,
Okay.
walk away. Hey, Ranger, I got this guy up here and he's gonna know.
Exactly, and they would know, right.
But in front, is not smart.
Like I said, we do have powers to enforce these rules and regulations, but we don't. It's just not, it's not safe. We don't have the infrastructure to do that kind of stuff. If something crazy was going down and it's happened, call the sheriff and they can come out. Same thing. We'll call the sheriff if it comes down to actually punitive, kind of enforcement. That's all I have for those. Did any other questions about rules and regulations before I hand it over here to Dennis?
Very well.
Okay.
And again,
Yeah.
Simon, great job.
Graphics. Yeah. Keeping it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That would have been really
Good.
bad. So let me pull up your presentation, Dennis. This is actually, Jeff, will you do that for me? It's on a separate PowerPoint.
Good, want a quick break before I start? Okay,
Get my coffee.
let's get rolling.
Anyone else want coffee since I'm?
Is Pike the in-between, is Pike's the in-between coffee?
Like a medium roast or something.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's pretty light.
Yeah.
This
it's
one
pretty
seems,
light.
Yeah.
one of them seems lighter than the other, and I don't
I'll
know.
stand up.
Okay, yeah, you can just click there.
Yeah, this one's lighter.
Is it?
Yeah.
Light roast usually has the most caffeine too.
Which one?
White roast usually have the most
Oh,
caffeine
good. I
too.
keep-
Really?
Much of what I'm gonna tell you is common sense, but it's good to hear it again, just so you realize that you do have common sense. If you see something I tell you that you really don't think we should be doing, let's talk about it. Everything that I'm gonna talk about is geared towards keeping you guys safe. You pay deputy sheriff to take risks, you pay park rangers to take more risks than you should take. And they know, because they're here doing it all the time, how much risk they can take and at what point they need to back off. Let me start with, there's nothing wrong with apologizing to somebody and walking away. That doesn't mean you have to do nothing. When you walk away, you call a park ranger, and they're gonna come help you. But it's better to go home at night uninjured than it is to, because you think you're gonna get your feelings hurt, confront somebody. But if you're doing something wrong, he's probably an idiot anyway, and he's not gonna listen to you. Situational awareness, that's what it's called. Being aware of one's surroundings and identifying potential threats and dangerous situations is a mindset. You have to be thinking about your surroundings and what's going on around you all the time. There's what most people say, you gotta recognize the threats exist, they're gonna be out there. We're gonna go over some common ones for the park. But the biggest one are other people, and we're gonna do that at the end. Denial of the threat. If you deny there's no threat, and you think you're out there and nothing's gonna hurt you, then when a threat does show up, you're not gonna be able to respond to it. You have to always be thinking about what those threats are. A lot of what I'm giving you is the same thing we teach policemen in the academy when they're driving a patrol car down the street. You don't just drive down the street daydreaming, you're constantly looking at your surroundings and situation when you stop at a stoplight. This is something most people don't know, but pay attention next time you see a policeman stop at a stoplight. He's never gonna pull up right next to another car. Or he can look right over and see the driver of the other car. How come?
No
Something like
advantage.
that.
The other driver pulls out a gun, he can shoot right across the car and shoot you. The policeman's always gonna be back. And the other reason for that is he always wants to be able to maneuver his car out of that lane. But that's because he's constantly assessing his situation where he's at. And I don't think driving on park trails are gonna have that problem. But the idea is you need to always think about what may happen next. Understanding you need to take responsibility for your security. When you're out there, they're gonna be teams of 2 pairs.
We're still discussing that.
Whether you're by yourself or with a pair, it's just you guys in this park. There's nobody's gonna be there in 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, maybe half an hour or an hour. When I first started working for the sheriff's department, by the way, I'm a retired captain from the sheriff's department. When I was a deputy, this was my patrol beat out of Encinitas Station. When I was a sergeant, I got transferred to Vista, they switched boundaries and this was my patrol beat as a sergeant. When I was a lieutenant in Vista, this was our patrol beat. When I was a captain in Vista, this was our patrol beat for the first 3 or 4 years, then they gave it to San Marcos Station. So when you guys ask for a deputy, he's coming from San Marcos, over the hill or around the hill, you come help you.
That goes into the power.
Yeah, those little things are going off too.
It should come back.
Luckily, actually, there's one slide I didn't print, and that was the stuff you told me they need to be aware of.
Did the camera turn off?
No, it seems to be on.
Okay.
Oh, we started from the beginning?
Yeah, sure.
The other part of this is, if you're out there, trust your gut. Policemen that are good policemen, rangers that are good rangers have a gut instinct that there's trouble of brewing, or something's gonna happen, and don't say, I'll give you a good example. The Weather Service says, watch out for flash floods. You know, we've never had a flash flood, but your gut instinct says, we might have one. Trust that gut instinct, because it's probably right. The other big thing is, if somebody is tied to a conversation, don't just focus on him. Always be aware of your surroundings. If you're talking to somebody, there might be somebody over there doing something nefarious. So always know what's around you and what's going on around you. If you're driving your car, know what's going on behind you, in front of you, and to the side. Especially if you're driving your car, don't be looking down at the car, don't be looking at the road in front of you. Be looking 100 feet, 200 feet ahead of you to see what you're driving into. So learn to be observant while doing other things, very important. Okay, next slide. Oh, there's got to be another slide before that. Okay, flash floods, we just talked about that. Do they have them out here? They probably never had one here, but could they have one? If we have an El Nino year that they're predicting, heck yes. All those little creeks, all those little places that water run off could become a flash flood. Lightning storms, what do you do in a lightning storm?
Get off the mountain.
Get the heck away from where lightning is gonna strike, right? Get in or get some kind of protection. Again, your gut instincts tell you, how often do we have lightning storms? Very seldom. You know, you're out there at work, and now we're not gonna have a lightning storm, but your gut says, man, I don't know. Trust that gut and get the hell off the mountain. You don't need to expose yourself that can endanger wildfires. If there's a wildfire, get the hell off of the mountain. They burn so fast that you can't outrun them. So you gotta be way ahead of a wildfire. Get out of there.
We recently, at the request of the fire department, adopted a policy where red flag days, the park is closed. Just for,
Well, that's good.
just for that reason.
I'll tell you an experience I had. When I was a deputy in 1971, there was a wildfire burning where, just south of Rancho Santa Fe. And there used to be horse ranches out there. It was my job to go tell all the horse people to, get out of Dodge, let's evacuate. I got out there on one of these dirt roads. Here comes the fire. Luckily, I was by a drainage culvert. Got out of my car, got in the drainage culvert, burnt my car up, swept right over me so fast
Wow.
that, there wasn't a lot of vegetation. So it just swept over me. I got up, it's going west. And I'm going, wow, I don't have a radio anymore. I didn't have portable radios, and I had to walk out of there. So wildfires are dangerous. Probably one of your big dangers, rattlesnakes. Be aware of where rattlesnakes are and don't go out there. I don't know about you, but if I was out every day, do you wear high boots?
Yes,
Wear high boots. So you do step on a rattlesnake, it's not gonna get you. But be very aware when you're out there wandering around that they're there.
another good scare for people going off trail.
Mhm.
You stay on the trail, you'll see the rattlesnake. If you're bushwhacking, that's when you're gonna get hit.
And that's just not lying to them, that's the truth.
That is the truth.
Mountain lions, have they ever actually seen a mountain lion there?
In the community, Elfin Forest, yes.
Elfin Forest, yeah.
Yeah. San Marcos, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you've read stories about people that are been killed by mountain lions out, in East San Diego County. What do you do if you see a mountain lion?
Back up, don't turn around. Don't
Yeah, back up, make yourself as large as you can, and get in your car, and get the hell out of there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're out driving a car, you never want to be that far away from it. It's your safety net. Their car's gonna have radios in them, right?
Yes.
So you can always get in the car and radio somebody. But situational awareness. They've had a mountain lion sighting in West Haven or Elfin Forest. When you go to work, he doesn't just stay there. He's liable, or she's liable to be here too. Poison ivy, talked about, you're probably gonna get it sometime during your volunteer career. California and all that stuff.
Sorry,
stay on
the
the shadows.
camera just did a whirl.
I think the power's going back on.
Oh, okay.
Poison oak, poison ivy, tarantula wasps. Somebody tell them about them.
Yeah,
I
what
don't
do
really
they
know
look
much
like?
about them.
They're
Sound like
those
danger.
long, they're red, they're dangly legs, and from what I've been told, their bite is more painful than a rattlesnake. Yeah. Do you guys don't know about tarantula hawks?
No.
I didn't know they were around here either.
Oh, absolutely. You see them in the fall when the tarantulas are coming out.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can hear their wings. They're 2-3 inches long, and just
Wow.
stay away.
So if you see some flying around, what do? Get in your car and roll the windows up and drive out of there. You don't need to fight with tarantula. This is probably gonna be your #1 danger out here. Steep slopes, falls, fractures, breaks, and sprains. I mean, you're out in the wilderness. Hopefully, you're gonna operate in twos. And one person gets hurt, what are you gonna do? Well, you're gonna have a first aid class, so they're gonna give you everything. Have you had that yet?
Yeah.
So they've told you how to deal with all of that.
And they're all gonna carry an 800. They're all gonna
So
have.
you're all gonna have portable radio too, make sure they work, test them before you go. So those are a lot of the dangers you're gonna face here. But the #1 danger, I mean, these are all dangerous, the #1 danger is not there. What do you think it is?
Other humans. who
Other
be
humans you
tracking
contact,
you.
the other humans that you come in contact with. So the 5 levels of awareness, this is just for your information. The first one is tuned out. Other people call it the white level of awareness. What is that? That's when you're daydreaming, thinking about something else. Good example, you're driving down the freeway, and you're coming here and you gotta get off of Leucadia Boulevard, and all of a sudden, you're at La Costa going, shit, I was supposed to get off back there.
Right.
Because I was David, I was tuned out, I was thinking about something else.
But it feels so good.
We're that way probably 50 or 60% of our day, all of us. The older we get, the more we're tuned out. Relaxed awareness, or the yellow level, that's where you're driving down the road. I'm gonna relate everything to driving. You're driving down the road, you're not really concerned about anything, but you know you have to get off at Leucadia, so your blinker goes on. But, you know, you're looking around, looking at the flowers, looking at the smoke or the fire, the other cars. You're aware, but you're relaxed. Focus awareness. So you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden you see some guy going lane to lane, speeding. Now you're focused, you're aware, you're still kind of relaxed, driving, doing your own thing, but you know something's going on. That's focus awareness, that's orange level. Now that guy had an accident in front of you. Now you're on high alert. You know you've got to avoid the accident, you know something's going on, and you're going to take some kind of action. Change lanes, stop and help them, whatever it might be. The last one, which is a black level of comatose, you're asleep. Or what happens to a lot of people, that accident happened and you're so gripped with fear you can't do anything. You never want to be at that level, except at night when you're in bed. Where you want to be most of the time when you're patrolling is that relaxed awareness. And you're going to come right up to the focus awareness and high alert. And you should never be comatose, there's no reason to be. Because you should avoid all that stuff. If you see something happening, just get out of there and call for help. Nobody's paying you to be the enforcement arm of this park. You're not going to go in and write tickets or throw arm bars on people and throw them to the ground and put cuffs on them. Just not what you're going to do. You're there to see and report. Let's go back one. Your previous. Are you on the internet here?
Yeah.
This computer? Good, because I have a film I want to show.
Oh, good.
We got to go to the internet.
Are you connected?
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe I'm not.
I can hotspot my phone.
I was looking at my email earlier.
Or, do you need it now?
No, it's like 10 slides.
Let me know, yeah. we'll do it.
So dealing with people. First, situational awareness. I mean, you've probably all done this, so it really wasn't an unusual thing, but do you have any questions? Because now I'm going to talk about how you deal with people, which is going to be your number one problem, I think, in this park. And he already talked about a lot of the issues of the parking lot. Was Ryan, Ranger Ryan Works?
Yes.
He grew up across the street from me. I know him very well, that's why I've been here before. 5-year universal truce in dealing with people. And these are things that if you remember, and you actually implement it in your everyday life, not only your ranger life, your volunteer ranger life, you're going to probably interrelate with people better. All cultures want to be respected and treated with dignity, regardless of the situation. When treated with disrespect, all people want revenge and to fight. Really what that's saying is that everybody you come across, treat them with respect. If there's like on his slideshow, some of those pictures he had of people, you're going to run across them in the park. They're not from your culture, and you look at all our age groups are about the same. Some of the kids today, we can't relate with, but you've got to treat them with respect, or they're going to want to fight. Not necessarily a physical fight, it might be a verbal fight, but if you remember that, treat everybody with dignity and respect. I don't care who they are. If they're out smoking dope or shooting heroin, you still can treat them with dignity and respect. You don't have to treat them like they're dopers that they are. All people would rather be asked than told what to do. To ask is a sign of respect. To tell is often a sign of disrespect. What does that mean? If you want to talk to somebody, you don't say, stop stop doing that. Get out of that creek. How about, hey, you mind getting out of the creek so we can talk? You know, that's asking somebody, that's not ordering them. Once they get ordered, their back gets up and their spine gets straight. And you don't want to do that. Policemen learn that right away. First time a policeman gets out of the academy and his testosterone is through his head and he's out there, you know, to save the world, and he runs across, he stops a car with a father and a family in there, and he said, "You ran that ticket, give me your driver's license. I mean, you ran that stop sign, give me your driver's license." Right away, that father's gonna defend his family against that guy. Doesn't work. But if he had said, "Hi, I'm from the sheriff's department, I'm Joe. You know that, did you see the stop sign back there?" "Yeah." "Well, did you know you didn't stop for it?" "Damn, I forgot." "Well, can I see your driver's license?" "Go get it. You'll write the ticket and the guy will pay it. You won't go to court." It's all about how you treat people. It's all about that first initial contact. Ask them, respect them. But if you start telling them and ordering them, some people will do it, but not many. All people want to know why they are asked or told to do something. So if you ask that guy, "Hey, do you mind coming out of the creek so that I can talk to you?" You want to tell them, this is why I want you out of the creek. It's urban runoff, it has leeches or whatever the reason. We don't want you to get injured in there. And somebody made these park rules and you're not supposed to be in the creek. 70% of the people are going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that." And that's the end of it. And they probably won't go in the creek again until you turn their back. But not telling them is that sign of disrespect. And if you disrespect them, you're going to get in a verbal confrontation, and you don't need that. All people would rather have options than threats. Again, offering people a choice of action shows respect and allows people to save personal face. Threats are not only disrespectful, they force people to resist and fight if they have any backbone. Again, fight is not necessarily a physical confrontation, a verbal fight. Anytime they're opposing you is what I refer to as a fight. And it doesn't have to be physical. So, what does it mean they'd rather have options than threats?
Give them choices.
Pardon?
Give them choices.
Choices. Make them all your choices, all the ones that will be right for them. Don't give them wrong choices. But hey, you want to get out of there, or you want to leave the park? Hey, you want to get out of there, or whatever they are. I can't even think of the situations. Off trail. Hey, you want to get back in the trail?
Or do you want me to call the ranger?
Or do you want me to call the ranger? Now you're kind of threatening them when you say, "Do you want me to call the ranger?" That's always in the back of your mind. And if you have to, you use it, but that should be your last resort when talking to people. That if you don't do this, this is, if you don't do A, B is gonna happen. Give them choices, A and B. You know, why don't you get back on the trail, and maybe you can leave the park, or stay in the trail and you can get up to the top. But once you start talking to them, why do we want you on the trail? For all the reasons you talked about earlier, the wildlife, it won't grow back, we're in a drought, the animals are scary, rattlesnakes, all that kind of stuff. But give them choices if you can. Finally, all people want a second chance to make matters right. People are human, we err and act in ways we wish we hadn't. Whenever appropriate, people value being given a second chance to get it right. You can print all of these for you. I see people taking notes, but if you really want them, you can print the slide. So what does it mean people want a second chance? Most people, when you give them choices, are going to pick the right choice. And then that's it. Let them go on their way. That's their second chance.
Tell that to the CHPs.
Pardon?
Tell that to the CHPs.
Yes.
Whole different. I don't know how anybody retired CHP? I don't know. Anybody can be a traffic officer. You spend all day long writing good people, making good people mad by writing them tickets. I was 34 years in the sheriff's department, and I never wrote a father or a mother when they had a family in the car a ticket. I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me when I had my kids in the car.
I wasn't that lucky.
CHP,
No, Pally Sheriff.
traffic officers, people that only do traffic enforcement have a different mindset. I'll have to admit, doesn't leave this room, in all my years of promoting people, I never promoted anybody that had traffic officer in their background. They just, I don't know.
Maybe they needed that promotion to get out of it.
Pardon?
Maybe they needed that promotion to get out of it.
Well, yeah. I won't even tell you, well, I will tell you, because I'm retired, they can't yell at me now. If you ever get a ticket, go to court. You know what when I showed up in Vista as the captain, you know what the appearance rate for deputy sheriffs were in traffic court?
No, I don't.
21% showed up. 79% never showed up for their tickets, which means you get out of it if he's not there to testify against you.
And I was like maybe 5 miles over the speed limit, and it was only because the other cars were traveling the same rate.
It
And I
is.
got-
That's Poway. Poway has that reputation.
And it turned out I bumped into the guy from the office at the school I worked at after that, so.
Okay.
It was a little good.
This is one you have to remember. There's a good chance your interaction will be videotaped and loaded on the internet.